Hey guys, today I wanted to talk to you about selling solar and creating the need and what that looks like from a sales perspective. And um, I just want to give you a little background about me. So, my sales experience, I've been doing sales in different industries since I was about 13 years old. I started working for a newspaper company. So, almost 20 years now. Yeah, I've been selling, I've done credit cards over the years, I've done cell phones, and I've even done, solar. Started out as a sales rep, going door to door, worked my way up. And now I am started my own solar company and consult for another solar company. So I want to kind of share this with you today, and hopefully it can help you in your line of work with doing solar and creating the need for the customer. So one of the things to help you guys is, first of all, understanding that there is a difference between wants and needs, right? Creating and filling the need is a special technique because sometimes people want something, they want a product, they may want solar, but a want and a need is completely different. And so making the customer see the need first and then filling that need. And so often you have to create the need. Sometimes the customer already has the need and you can just fill it, but a lot of times you have to first find the need and essentially create the need before you can fill it. The way to first find the need and create the need is first you have to learn about your customer, right? You have to make sure that you're asking the good questions, the right questions, and understanding them better before you can present a solution. You first have to find the problem, create it for the customer, and show them why there's a problem and why you're the person with the solution, right? So some of those questions when you're approaching like a customer at the door or in their home is just finding out more about the customer, right? Is how long have you lived here? What do you do for work? Some of their hobbies, family, friends, who's in the area, who's connected with them. This can also lead to referrals, but it really helps you to find out more about the customer and so forth. So these are good questions, and it will allow you to know what's important to them. These questions lead to answers, right? So how long have you lived here is, a question, right? So that tells whether, the customer's been there long enough to experience high electric bills or whether they just moved in, and kind of like what their history and experience is with the solar industry and the electric, right? What do you do for work, right? So this tells you, the customer's availability and their income, because when you're going to present solar to someone, hey, you can save with solar, right? And so in order to present that as a solution, if they're, a millionaire, they're probably not so much worried necessarily about, how much they're going to save. So if you're talking to them about income, if you're finding out, hey, what their work, what their line of work is, and kind of get an idea of like what their income is, if it's 30,000 range, or if it's over 1 million and so forth, that kind of gives you an idea of whether that's a solution to whether the cost is a factor, right? Hobbies, when you ask that, it tells what matters to the customer, what's important, what their interests are, and there's ways that you can connect that, right? Family and friends, right? It tells reasons why the customer might want to save with solar. Hey, we're having a kid. My wife and I are saving. We want to take this trip, or we're trying to get married. Things like that, right? So in order for for you to find out why, how that can help them, you first have to ask them these questions, right? Product interest discovery, right? So I like to ask these questions as it helps find the need, and helps you solidify it. So I ask people, so what exactly interests you about saving with solar, right? So it's never what interests you about solar. It's not about what interests you with, getting a solar loan or anything else like that, right? It's about saving with solar. Even if this isn't your main selling point, what interests you about saving with solar? If you get this into their head when you're talking to them about saving with solar versus having this higher electric bill necessarily, because it's not necessarily. So because people kind of get that mindset is solar super expensive, I can't afford it. And even if that's not the case, people still think that. So the next one is, how do you feel saving with solar would benefit you? So I love to ask this question too, because the customer kind of tells you what what they see in the benefit, and you can repitch this to them, as you present everything to them. Hey, the benefit that I'm looking for, or the benefit that I see from it, right? This allows you to hear that and reiterate it back to the customer so that they see a solution to what they're looking for, right? And then I love to ask this question too. What do you like best about solar? Because this also helps you solidify your deal. Whether you're at the door, just kind of talking to the customer after you've knocked on it, or whether you're calling someone or in their home trying to sell them solar. Maybe they called and set up an appointment, right? So what do you like best about the idea of solar, the idea of going solar? Because this will really help you to find out what they like about it, right? Because this is about the customer, not just about you closing a deal. If you make it about just getting a sale and closing the deal, then you're not going to be able to be as successful in closing the deal. These are the main needs for solar. Again, I've been in the industry for a while and have talked to hundreds and hundreds of people, and literally these are the main answers, right? Is I need to save on my electric bill. Um, Electric prices are too high and I need a solution, right? I need to help the environment, right? That's another big factor. I need to increase my home value because I'm going to be selling it in the next year or 5 years or whatever it may be. They need a new roof, right? That's a popular one. Or, I need my trees cut. Just had a customer recently and, the trees were causing issues at the home. And so they're like, hey, I'd be interested in going solar if you can cut the trees. So that's another one. Those are kind of the main five reasons people will say, hey, I'm looking to go solar, or this is why it interests me. So the solution to these problems, right? So once you know the need, then you can say to the customer, hey, I know you were saying you need to save on your electric bill, or you're trying to save right now, or that your electric bill is just, you mentioned your electric bill was, really high. And you can present to the customer, hey, solar's right now, it's the cheapest form of electricity, and we can help you, save so you can meet, your goal, right? So whatever that goal was, hey, I'm trying to take this trip with my wife. I'm trying to get married. We're saving up to have this baby. I'm trying to put my son or daughter through college, or I'm the one going back to school, right? And so when you say, solar is the cheapest form of electricity, and it will help you save on your electric bills so that you can go on that trip you were talking about, going to Hawaii, or whatever it may be, right? When you reiterate that back to them, they start thinking about that, how, this is going to help me achieve that goal. You're providing the solution to their goals and their needs, right? The need to save so they can obtain their goal. So you have the solution to it. they'll say, hey, I want to help the environment, or I need to help the environment, right? So that's another need, right, that we talked about. And so going solar removes your carbon footprint. It helps save an average system saves almost 200 trees, an average size system. So, hey, Mr. Customer, I know this is, a big issue. Um, Saving 200 trees just by going solar, or whatever the size of their system, a 5 kilowatt system, saves 100 trees. So hey, I need to increase my home value, right? They'll say this too. I'm looking to increase the home value. Hey, solar can increase the value of the home by over 4%, right? I never promise the customer that it will increase the home value, right? Because if for some reason it doesn't increase the home value, for whatever reason, that doesn't happen, and if it's not 4%, if it's 6% or 2%, right, because of maybe the area it's in or whatever, I don't want to promise the customer that, hey, it's going to increase the value of 4%, and then they're dissatisfied or upset because that wasn't the exact case, right? So I tell people, hey, here's the average. The average is over 4%, and go from there. Need a new roof, right? So very, very common, right? One of the biggest ones for sure. So I always tell people, hey, if you were to go solar, through me and my company, we're usually able to cover most, if not all, of the cost of this new roof. So if you give me the time, what I can do is I can, find out how much we can, cover for you on the roof, how much you'll save, and how much we can cover. Same thing with the trees, exactly the same thing. Hey, I need these trees cut because it's causing such and such a problem, or I just don't like the look, or whatever it might be, right? And so, hey, going solar, solar company here, we can help cover the cost of that, if not all of it, at least most of it. So let me, at least see what I can do, right? So you've now, whatever their problem is, right, you're now presenting the solution to the problem, and that solution is always you, and what you're able to offer them is, I'm offering, right, to cut your trees, put on a new roof, by providing you with solar. It'll increase your home value, it'll save you on your electric, it'll, achieve all these goals, help the environment, right? So final steps, right? So now that you've presented the need to the customer, right, and you've reiterated that back to them, and you've shown them the solution. So now the customers, trying to decide, they're thinking about it. Hey, this is a solution to my problem. Now what, right? So a lot of people will say yes, but then you'll get some who will be like, I still don't know, because they're not entirely convinced always that what you're offering is really the solution, right? So one of my favorite ways to convince people to at least give me a chance, right? So the goal isn't to sell them on it right there necessarily, right? The goal is to get your foot in the door, basically, so that you can show the customer, hey, let me sit down with you, let me show you why this makes sense for you, why solar is the solution to the problem you have, right? So I tell them, hey, let me get you a free proposal, right? Don't charge for the proposal. Let me just give you a free proposal, show you, how we can help, how much it will save you, how much of the roof it'll cover. I don't give them a dollar amount until I see their electric bill, and until I'm sitting down with them and I'm showing them everything. Because if you just spit out numbers, or you make promises and you're not able to follow through, then the customer is upset. They're going to tell other people. And if you're knocking on someone's street, or if they happen to know someone that you know that, maybe is a potential customer, you're going to end up losing out. So you want to be unspecific until you know the actual numbers and answers, and that requires a bill, and you want to sit down with the customer, right? And I'll tell them, hey, look, let me sit down with you, give you this free proposal, and if it still doesn't make sense for you, we don't have to move forward with it, right? We don't have to, sign. You don't have to sign the agreement or anything like that. But at least then, you'll know what what the price is, how much you'll save, how much we can cover, and you'll be able to see at least the potential benefit. And if it still doesn't make sense for you, then we won't move forward with it, right? I love this because it doesn't pressure the customer. You're not coming off as that salesperson that is pressuring the customer to, with the, you got to sign, you got to sign, you got to sign, right? So it says, hey, look, if it doesn't make sense, right? It's like some indifference, right? You're like, hey, I'm backing off. If it doesn't make sense, we don't have to move forward. There's no pressure, right? And then I go into, all I'm asking for is just a few minutes of your time. It takes about 15 minutes for me just to sit down and calculate those numbers and give you the information that you need, right? If the customer has questions, yes, it'll take longer, but the initial thing is just, hey, 15 minutes to at least give you that. And if they're fine with sitting down longer, then great. If you have to come back, and say, hey, I can sign this, but I only allowed you 15 minutes for this, right? But that's all I asked for, because if you ask them for an hour, then they're going to be like, no, that's too much time, right? So 15 minutes, I'll be out of your hair. You'll have the solution, you'll have the answers, you'll see exactly how it benefits you, right? And then this last part is, I asked them this question: would today or tomorrow work better for you, right? So you're giving them two options, right? So you're not saying when works best for you, right? Because people will say, well, how about next week? Or why don't you come back in 2 weeks? Or I'm really busy, right? That people love to give those excuses. And the thing is that people will make time for what's important to them, right? But if you give them options, then, and you say, hey, out of these choices, which one works better for you? So it's no longer when or how or why or any of those questions. It's which of these two, right? And they have to choose from those. Now, sometimes people will still say neither of those work, and that's okay, right? But most of the time people will say, yeah, I can do it at this time, today or tomorrow, right? And so when you have, you don't want to say would next week Monday, or would 5 days from now work good for you. You want to make it as soon as possible. Hey, I'll come back in an hour. Tonight after dinner, after you're done work or whatever, or you said today doesn't work good, so how about tomorrow, right? So you want to make it as soon as possible, because this is all fresh in their head, and you don't want to give them too much time to change their mind, because they're like, what, this just isn't a good time for me right now, or whatever their reason might be, right? You want to do all this while it's still fresh in their head, right? So yeah, that's kind of my presentation about creating the need, and how it makes sense. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.